The Intergalactic Academy was always bustling with students from different worlds. Their species were as diverse as the galaxies themselves, and each one had its own history, culture, and stories. Today, though, all the students gathered in the large lecture hall had something in common: curiosity. The subject was Earth's history, and the lesson for the day was human warfare. The professor, a Zygron named Daxthor, stood at the front of the room. His gray, almost translucent skin shimmered under the bright lights of the academy. With his long, slender fingers, he tapped a few keys on the holographic control pad, and the large screen behind him flickered to life. Today, Daxthor began, his voice deep and steady, we will be studying one of the most defining moments in human history, the invasion of Earth. It was a war unlike anything else in the galaxy. A war that nearly destroyed their world but also showed us the true power of humanity. The footage you are about to see is from the Battle of New York. The students settled into their seats, their eyes wide with anticipation. The Battle of New York was famous even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. It had been a turning point for humanity when an alien race, the Zithari, invaded Earth. The humans fought back with everything they had, showing courage and resolve that none of the invaders had expected. As the footage began to play, the room went silent. On the screen, explosions rocked the once beautiful city of New York. Buildings crumbled, fires burned, and the sky was filled with smoke. Humanoid figures clad in armor sprinted through the debris, fighting with both advanced weapons and raw determination. Alien ships hovered above the city, releasing more soldiers onto the streets below. The footage was chaotic, but one thing was clear: humanity wasn't backing down. The students, many of whom came from advanced species, watched in stunned silence. It was one thing to hear about the humans' resistance, but to see it was something else entirely. Their fighting style was rough, unpolished, and yet full of energy. There was no order to it, no precise formations like in other species' battles. It was simply humans throwing themselves into the fight with everything they had. This footage is only a small part of the war, Daxthor explained as the video continued. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they never gave up. They fought, and in the end, they drove the invaders off their planet. The screen showed the final moments of the battle: human soldiers using improvised weapons, attacking alien soldiers with everything from knives to makeshift bombs. They didn't have the same technology as their invaders, but they used what they had with incredible ingenuity. The alien ships began to retreat, and the humans, though battered and bruised, stood victorious. When the footage ended, the class sat in stunned silence. No one spoke for a long time. The room was heavy with the weight of what they had just witnessed. The aliens in the room had all seen wars, had all experienced battles, but this was different. The raw emotion and determination of the humans left an impression on them. As the class remained silent, one voice suddenly cut through the stillness. It was calm, clear, and almost distant. I was there. The students turned in surprise. The voice came from a girl sitting in row 3. Her name was Kara, and she was human. There was nothing extraordinary about her, just a regular student with short brown hair and dark eyes sitting quietly in the middle of the class. Yet now she had everyone's attention. I was there, Kara repeated, her voice steady. She didn't look at anyone in particular, but her words seemed to hang in the air, almost demanding attention. Daxthor looked at her, his brow furrowed. You were there?" he asked, his voice full of disbelief. "But you're human. How could you have been in that battle?" Kara didn't immediately respond. She looked up at the screen, her eyes reflecting the images still burned into her memory. Then slowly she began to speak. "I was part of a resistance group. We didn't have the technology to fight back like the invaders did, but we had something they didn't: our will to survive." She paused, gathering her thoughts before continuing. "I wasn't on the front lines, but I was there in New York. I saw the destruction. I saw the fear in people's eyes. And I saw something else, something no one expected. I saw humans fight back." The class listened in silence, their curiosity piqued. Kara's words were simple, yet they carried an intensity that made her classmates lean forward in their seats. "It was a desperate time," she continued. "The Zithari didn't care about us. They thought we were nothing more than insects to be squashed. But the humans, they just wouldn't give up. They found a way to make their last stand. And in doing so, they proved that no matter how small or weak you might seem, you can always fight back. You can always stand your ground." One of the students, a tall Torgan from a distant system, raised his hand. "But how?" How did they fight back with so little? Kara's eyes met his, and for a moment she looked almost nostalgic. We used everything we had. Guns, explosives, even our hands. We fought with anything we could get our hands on. And we learned how to use the alien technology. It wasn't easy, but we adapted. We took their weapons and turned them against them. The invaders never saw it coming. The Torgan was silent, clearly processing what Kara had just said. I find it hard to believe that humans could turn the tide of a war with so little. That doesn't seem possible. Kara smiled, though there was no joy in it. You're right, she said quietly. It didn't seem possible. But that's what made it so dangerous. The humans. They don't stop. No matter how overwhelming the odds, they never stop fighting. The Professor Daxthor seemed lost in thought. He had seen many species rise and fall, each with its own unique strengths and weaknesses. But what Kara was describing was unlike anything he had encountered before. He had always thought of humanity as a primitive species, one that had yet to master interstellar travel or even basic galactic diplomacy. And yet, here was a human student, recounting a story of survival and determination that left even the most advanced beings in the room speechless. Kara paused, glancing around at the other students. She could see the doubt in their eyes, the confusion, but also the growing respect. You don't have to believe me, she said quietly, but the humans who fought in that war, they were more than just soldiers. They were survivors, and they proved that humanity isn't to be underestimated. The silence in the room stretched on. No one spoke for a long time, each student lost in their thoughts. Kara's words had left an impression on them, one that would not be easily forgotten. Daxthor finally broke the silence, his voice softer now. Thank you, Kara, he said. Your story adds a perspective we don't often hear about. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength of a species isn't in their technology, but in their will to survive. Kara simply nodded, her expression unreadable. She wasn't looking for praise. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She had lived through that war. She had seen what humanity was capable of when pushed to the edge. And she knew that the universe would remember them for it.